Today we will do the second topic of the ProServe open source tool partner enablement. And we will discuss about how to do the BI operations of QuickSight. This topic is a very huge, large topic. A lot of engineers and leaders in the BI industry would like to have deep dive session of the BI operations. It's a very painful process, and we try to soothe the pain. We try to make it as smooth as possible. And on the other side, this topic could bring a lot of consulting opportunity to the community, because so many customers, they would like to make the CI/CD pipeline, the BI deployment, the end-to-end operation process to be automaticable. So it's almost take like a 30% or maybe even 40% of our consulting billable hours for this topic. So that's why we would like to make it to be more thoughtful as possible. So we divide into 3 sessions, and in today's session, we will go through the theory and talk about our idea and the high-level architecture. And then in the session 2 and session 3, we will do the hands-on workshop. We will guide all of you to go through the Python scripts step by step, and make sure you can do the access deployment in your AWS account, cross accounts. And we will also do the hands-on workshop of the CDK solution, and we will provide you a simple UI interface. And later you can use it as a POC to continue to make the enrichment of the UI solution to support your own customer. So that's what we will cover in this topic for the BI Ops. And for this workshop, here is the prerequisite. Definitely you need AWS account. Ideally, you have to provide 2 AWS accounts. One is the source account and one is the target account. So you can do the access deployment across account. If you don't have it, that's also okay. You can just use one account to be both source and target. Just play with it and understand the idea. But then you don't have the chance to test about the security configuration to do the deployment. And you also have to get the access of those AWS service. And you need the basic knowledge of QuickSight, CDK, and Python. Yeah, that's it. That's all the prerequisite. And here is the reference of today's session. You can get information about API from this link. You can get information about CDK from this link. We will dive deep one by one in the later slides. And here is high level the solution, the methodology, and also how can we construct the infrastructure to do the cross-account QuickSight access deployment. And about myself, my name is Ying Wang. I have more than 12 years in data analytics as engineer, data scientist, and data architect, and so on and so on. And now I'm in the AWS professional service team in the data analytics practice, and my passion is on helping our customer to unblock the power of data with QuickSight. And here's the agenda. As we already cover what we will talk about in the 3 different sessions about BI Ops. And today is the session 1 of BI Ops. We will go through what's mean about BI Ops by using the DevOps concept. And we will do a high-level introduction of QuickSight API. And then we will talk about access deployment and version control by explaining the dashboard development workflow and also how can we do the access deployment across different accounts, and a high-level introduction about the folder usage. And we will provide a proposal of the dashboard version control in one account. And we will high-level introduce our sample Jupyter Notebook of the Python scripts. And we will also discuss the high-level overall solution of the UI interface to do the QuickSight access deployment. And in next week and next week, in the 2 other following up session, we will deliver the hands-on workshop with all of you together. So DevOps, you might already know that was DevOps. The developer, they do the planning, what they would like to deliver, the features, the software platform, and whatever. And after they finish the planning, the engineers start to do the coding. And after the coding finish, they will build the solution and compile the solution and build the whole software as a package and so on and so on. And then the quality engineer will run the test. And after test finish, okay, everything's perfect. Then they will release to their end user. And the end user will deploy the solution into their environment. They have to monitor the operation daily, and they will contribute back to the development team and say, hey, you have to fix this bug. You have to include this future release, include these extra features. And so the cycle is continue again to make the application better, and also to make the use case to be best utilize the power of the software. And for BI, originally everyone feel it's difficult to do those DevOps solution in BI. But however, QuickSight opened the door for you because QuickSight provide those API to describe your data source, describe your data set. So you are able to describe those assets as JSON, as code. So you can make it similar as the traditional software DevOps lifecycle to do it in the BI release and BI application deployment. And you can think about that. It's very similar. The UX UI team, the product owner team, they discuss what they would like to get in your BI application. And then you start to do the data modeling to build the data set. And then you build a dashboard. And then, of course, you have to run the test. And then you release to your end user about your BI application. And you deploy into different environment. And you, of course, you would like to monitor the usage, who, when, how many times access your dashboard, and you want to monitor those performance metrics and usage metrics. And then you go back to continue improve your BI application. So I give it a name called BI Ops by mimicking the DevOps. That's the BI Ops. And with those basic coding and the deep knowledge of BI, we can do whatever we would like to do. We can generate an open source tool to satisfy all of our DevOps administration request, development request. So I always say there's no limitation. The only limitation is your imagination. And we will unpuzzle all those things, all those building blocks in the following up slides. And about QuickSight API, I keep talking QuickSight API, QuickSight API. What's QuickSight API? I provide 2 links here. Feel free to go there to take a look. This one is the API documentation. Click this link, you will be able to see the overview of the QuickSight API and the terminology and concept. And you can see the API operation by the different topic. For example, you know we have the namespace for the ISV, right? So for ISV, QuickSight provide the API to do create a namespace and delete a namespace and describe namespace and list all the namespace in your account. So that's the namespace API. And those things belong to a big category called control the access QuickSight API. And similarly, we have the API related to group, the similar API related to user, and so on and so on. And you also have the API to control the setting, the account level setting. And you also have the API to do the embedded. And you have the API to control the different assets. In the BI Ops solution, we majority the usage of the API, we are using those as control assets API. We can do a describe analysis, and then we can get a JSON which contain all the information of analysis, and then we can do some modification and then recreate the analysis and dashboard by using the create action. So that's the QuickSight API. And some of you are advanced user. You might already hear about the assets as code and assets as bundle. Yeah, AAC and AAB, they are in private preview, and AAC should be GA by the end of this year, and AAB should be GA at the beginning of next year. Before the AAC and AAB GA, we have to use template to finish the BI ops. And in future, once we have the AAC and AAB, then we can continue improve the BI ops solution. And let's continue to discuss about that. How can we do that by using template now? And then we can discuss how can we improve it in future by using AAC and AAB. And if you are more familiar with Portal 3, you can directly go here and then check the Portal 3 API syntax. In our two sample solution, the Python scripts of the Jupyter Notebook and the CDK, we are all using Portal 3, the Python SDK, to finish the QuickSight Access deployment. You can feel free to translate it, to convert it to other programming language, no problem. It should be very easy. In our POC, we only provide the Python version. Okay, that's the QuickSight API. And now let's talk about the theory of the dashboard development cycle, or maybe we should say the BI application development cycle. Firstly, you make sure which namespace you would like to create, and then you create a user, and then you group those users into different QuickSight user group. And once you finalize the user management, you will be able to create a data source. And the data source connect to Redshift, Asana, whatever you would like to do. Data source is nothing. It's just a QuickSight asset, a QuickSight object contain the credential, the connection information of a database. So you can reuse it again and again. You don't have to every time type in those credentials. And based on the data source, you can create a data set. And once you have the data set, you can set, if it is a spice data set, then you might want to set the refresh schedule. And you can also call the API to check your spice ingestion status, right? And then you can create analysis. And this step now only manually doable. For the other operation, you can do manual step, you can do automation by calling the API. But for analysis creation, for now, it's only manual doable. There's no way to automatically create analysis. In future, when we have access as code, you might be able to write some code to create analysis by using command line, but not for now. Okay, once you have analysis, you will create a template. A template is nothing. It's just one object. Save the metadata of analysis. It's not visible for you. It's kind of black box. It's safe. You always associate with a QuickSight account. You cannot export it, but you can use this template to publish any dashboard in any account. You can publish in local account, which is the same account you have the template. You can also publish a dashboard in another account by using the template. And once you have the dashboard, then you can configure to share with which user and which group. And furthermore, you can call the API to list and describe a dashboard. You can describe dashboard itself. You can describe dashboard permission, and you can get all those information. And theming, you can create the color coding, the font, whatever about the formatting of your dashboard, and then you can reuse it. Even if your dashboard already published, you still be able to reapply the different theming. You can do it as much as possible you would like to do. And theming, be careful, is also the individual QuickSight asset. It's a QuickSight object. You can copy over from different account and then apply on the dashboard. It has to be applied on the dashboard analysis for you to view it. But however, you can take it as an individual object to deploy into different account. So that's on theory, the dashboard development and deployment life cycle. How can we automate it? Here, once you finish the dashboard deployment, the dashboard development, actually, we should say. Let's say you have a development account and you have a production account. How could you deploy those analysis theming dashboard into the production account, for example? This one is the most common BI ops use case. So what you can do is you can call the API to list the data source in your development account. And then when you list it, you can continue to describe it. And when you describe it, you can get the JSON body. And then you can modify it by using your any programming language to take the new credential in your production account. And then you can call the API to create the data source in your production account. And similarly, you can do the same thing for the data set. You can list the data set, describe it, modify it automatically by using programming language, and then you can create it. And the same thing, you can set up the ingestion. You can do it like you have an ETL pipeline, and you can say, hey, once I finish my ETL pipeline, I have a flag to trigger SNS message or whatever, and then to trigger your QuickSight Spice ingestion, whatever you would like to do. And then you can create the template by using the existing analysis in your development account. And then in the production account, you can create analysis or dashboard from the remote template. And then you can do the apply theming, do the sharing, and your production account setup. Just be careful. Firstly, do the data source, data sets, and then do the template, and then you move to the analysis or dashboard. And finally, you can do the sharing. And sharing actually is not BI operation topic. Sharing is belong to the access control, the security configuration topic. And we have topic 3. I will discuss about my another solution for the security automatically configuration. I call it granular access control. That's another topic not included in the BI ops. In BI ops, we only focus on how can we deploy the access across different accounts. We always by default set the owner of those QuickSight access in the production accounts as the admin user of your production account. If we would like to set up a comprehensive namespace, group user management, the access control, please wait for the third topic. We will leave everything of security configuration in the third topic. Okay, now you know how can we do the automatically deployment assets across account programmably. And now let's talk about folder. How about in one account, you would like to do the whole life cycle, do the development, testing, and release to production? It's also doable. It's not necessary to have multiple accounts. You can create a folder in one of your QuickSight account. And then you can name the folder name to be development, testing, and production. And you can finish the development in the development folder. And then you can call the API to put them into your testing folder. And then once you finish your testing, you can remapping them to the production folder. Be careful, folder and assets in QuickSight is a many-to-many relation. One object, one asset, you can put into multiple folder. And one folder, of course, you can host multiple assets. And folder in QuickSight is different from some of the other traditional legacy BI software. It's not like I put this one into a folder, then physically these assets belong to this folder. No, it's like a tagging. You just tag from this folder, you can browse this asset. It's not really like I move it, I relocate it into a folder, not that way. It's just, okay, I specify a browse path for you to be able to view the assets in some of the folder. That's it. And so you can do always just tag your original assets into a different folder. And you can also do that, I duplicate my analysis, and then I put into testing and let the testing team to test it. I still continue my development in my dev folder. No problem. You can always do that. So that's another way you can simplify the situation. Do not use multiple accounts, but you are using multiple folders to do the BI ops lifecycle. That's also doable. And now let's high level talk about one possible way to do the versioning in one QuickSight account. How can we do the versioning? So in versioning is you already have analysis, you manually develop it and say it's the version 1, right? And then you publish a dashboard. Let's say you publish it in your production folder, and your end user will be able to already view the dashboard, play with dashboard. And at the same time, you create a template. And the template is the version 1 template because it holds the metadata of your version 1 analysis. And your QA team, they might want to run some tests. Your end user already use it, but your QA team also run the QA test on your dashboard one. And your end user actually, they know they are viewing your version 1, your draft of the dashboard, but they really would like to start to test the flavor of the dashboard. So you can do it in parallel. And then the QA team, either they say, okay, everything passed, successful. So you might want to add some new realization, some new tests, some new filter, whatever. So you can update your analysis to version 2. And if the QA test fail, of course, you might want to fix the bug in your version 1. So anyway, you have to do something to update your analysis, and it will become the version 2, right? And then you publish the dashboard as version 2. And now you run the QA test again. It can be, it can be the QA engineer. It also can be your end user to do the UAT test or whatever, similar like the previous step. And then if it is passed, good, then you update your template to be version 2, and you continue the cycle again to version 3, right? No problem. However, if it is failed, and there's no way for you to go back to the original version, because your developer already make too many manual change on your analysis. You don't know which step triggered the issue. So how could you do? Luckily, because you have the version 1 template, right? So you can roll back your analysis to version 1 by calling the update analysis API, get the information from the metadata of your version 1 template. So you roll back your analysis to be version 1. And then you continue the update analysis menu step again and again. So that's the workflow of the versioning control in one account. You can do whatever the other ways you like to do, but here is one of the best practice we would like to suggest to all of you. And again, after the access as code release, this version controlling will be super easy. You can control it like the other software. It will be line level, checking the code. Someone can review the code, and then your admin team can deploy the dashboard by using the JSON, and then see, oh, it's really what I want, and then they can release it. So for now, you still have to use template. But later, after access code release, you can do it. Really is white box dashboard versioning control, and is code level versioning control. So here we talk about the dashboard development theory. We talk about how to do the automation. And we also discuss about how to use folder to control the deployment process. And we also high level discuss about how to do the versioning. Now let's move to this part. You say so much in theory. What's the code view looks like? How did you do that? Here is the sample. We have this AWS ProServe QuickSight SDK folder, this repository in GitHub. Everything's free, open source. Feel free to fork it, to download it. And one of the use case is the Jupyter Notebook. And inside the Jupyter Notebook, in the hands-on workshop session, we will go through this notebook step by step with you, and you should be able to deploy it in your environment. And in these notebooks, we provide different segment to you. Segment 1 is called function. And in function, what did we do? In the function notebook, what I do is, as I discussed about API, I provide those consolidate functions by using the API, including describe the different objects, describe different assets. And then another building block is create. Using the API, I create the function. You can directly call the API, no problem. But however, for example, when you do the list objects, you always get the nested token, nested token. You have to do a loop to continue repeat the nested token to get the full list of objects right. That's why I created the function notebook for you to make to wrap the API into a comprehensive function to do the functionality you would like to do. That's the function notebook usage. Describe function, create function, update function, delete function, and listing function. That's all related to the access control API actions to do the different things. And you have the single dots one by one, describe, update, delete. How can you really make it as a flow charting automatically? You don't have to manually control it. You can set up something scheduled, and then it will automatically do everything one by one for you. So you can set up something before the end of your day, and then next day you will see everything ready as you configuration. How could you do that? That's why I created the supportive function. Those supportive function can support you to connect those single dots together to be a really workflow, to be a real pipeline. So that's the function notebook. And then I provide two other notebooks. One, I call it batch migration. Another one, I call it incremental migration. And here I call it migration because at that time, I just borrowing the terminology, say, from one account to another account. That's migration process. But later I changed the name from migration to deployment because actually it's not migration from one BI platform to another BI platform. It's a deployment. You deploy something from one account to another account. But I didn't have time to update this picture yet. So for now, you will still see it make a name as migration. Don't worry about that. You just translate it to be deployment. You should think about that as a batch deployment notebook. And this one is an incremental deployment notebook. And from the name, you already understand what's the purpose of the notebook. In the notebook, for example, for the batch deployment notebook, I import all the function from the function notebook. And then I do the configuration to configure your source account and also configure your target account. Once the configuration finish, you can generate a session to connect to your source account and target account. And then you can get all the data source from your source account. And then as we already talk again about it, you can use coding language to update the data source connection information and then recreate it in the target account. And similarly for data source, you can deploy your data sets and your streaming analysis and dashboard in your target account. And the batch deployment is for your first time you set up account. You don't care about how many dashboard, how many data source, how many data sets I have in my source account. I just want to deploy everything into my target account. So this notebook is for this usage. This notebook will do a loop to get everything in your source account and then deploy everything into your target account. That's the batch deployment notebook. And for the incremental deployment notebook, that one is really the one fit into your daily BI procedure. Again, you do the configuration. And again, you input which dashboard you would like to deploy. And according to your input, the notebook get the data source and data sets related to those dashboards. And then we will again describe the data source and then update data source connection information and then create them in the target account. And then similarly, once the data source creation successful, we will do the same thing for the data sets to deploy data sets into your target account. And then we will do the same thing for the dashboard, streaming, analysis, whatever, and then finish the incremental deployment about the dashboard list you would like to deploy from one account to another account. And here is some sample. If you open the function notebook, you will see there's a bunch of function here, like the assume role is a supportive function, and how to get the user ARN by using username. That's the get user ARN supportive function. And this one is how to get all the data sets of analysis, this function, and so on and so on. I created so many different functions for you to do, like list everything, list all the data source, list all the data sets, and delete. How can you delete the objects? How can you create the assets, created objects? So from the section heading, you can get the different parts of the functions. And I divide the function segmentation by the action. So everything about create, I put into those neighboring cells. For everything about delete, I put into these cells, and so on and so on. And this one is a function notebook. And in here is the incremental deployment notebook. In this one, again, you import a library, right? And then you get the function list from function notebook, right? And then you can do either a single row, or you can also do like define some static profile to run this notebook. Either way is fine. And then you provide some information about which user is the main user, which user is the root user. Be careful, only the root user can get the ownership of your template. So you need a root user here. And you define the credential of your RDS or credential of your Redshift, whatever you would like to do. And then you provide which one you would like to deploy from lower environment to higher environment. I have some parameter defined here. You put the information here, and then you just run the, after you set up everything, good. You just let the notebook to be scheduled to run every night. Then this notebook should be able to help you to deploy everything you provide in the dashboard deployment list into your target account. And how to schedule a notebook to run, you can read this AWS blog to be able to scheduling a Jupyter notebook to run in your SageMaker instance. If you don't use SageMaker instance to host your Jupyter notebook, that's also okay. You can write some local cron job, and you are also able to schedule your local Jupyter notebook to be executed to do the deployment. And in today's session, we will only high level go through it. In session 2, next week, we will do the hands-on workshop to support you to really run an end-to-end deployment from your source account to your target account. Okay. And now, I will save the Q&A at the end of the session. Let's firstly still go through the UI-based asset deployment. After I released the notebooks, oh my God, 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago, people complain about that. They say, hey, Ying, I don't have those experience to do the deployment by using notebook. That sounds like a Looker solution. I don't like it. My end user, they would like to get a UI interface for them to make a selection, which dashboard they would like to deploy to which account and when, and related to which Jira ticket, and so on and so on. And then in backend, I can work with the BI admin team, the IT team to set up backend structure. But for the interface, I would like to make it as user-friendly as possible. Don't give me the notebook. That's too difficult. Yeah, I hear it again and again. And then I provide another solution to do the asset deployment with a UI interface. How could I do that? So it's very easy. If you attend my previous session about admin console, then you will know it's very easy to get the QuickSight access information into S3 bucket as a CSV file. And then you can create a dashboard to visualize the information of your dashboard. And once you have the data sets related to all your information of your dashboard, then you can create some other tables to get information of your Jira ticket, about your environment information, about your user information, and join them together to generate a dashboard to provide all those information, the case ID, the sample Jira ticket, and who is the requester would like to submit a request and when to deploy which dashboard from which source environment to which target environment. So that's the UI, a simple UI POC. So you have a dashboard, list all the information, and at the bottom, I provide you a HTML input form. So you can put your dashboard ID, your dashboard name, and the environment information into the HTML form, and you submit it Then the information will send back to API gateway to do a post action. And the API gateway will write those information into SQS queue. And then the lambda function will get information from the SQS queue and then do the deployment. That's on high level, the UI-based deployment solution design. And everything I put here, we provide a CDK for you to deploy it. And if you don't know about CDK, then you can learn from those links. On high level, it's just a programming language for you to be able to write those API gateway, those cloud front in a coding language, and then you can deploy those AWS service as a software deployment. You can write something in Python, say, I have an API gateway, and what's the usage, and what's the name, and what I would like to do about the API gateway. And then you can deploy your CDK template. And your CDK template actually will generate a CloudFormation template. And then the CloudFormation template will deploy those things into your environment. And for the UI-based solution, everything, all the backend structure, I provide in the CDK source code. So you can deploy the CDK to get the environment set up. And once you set up it, you don't have to modify it. All the deployment is controlled by a UI interface. The CDK is only for your first time to deploy your infrastructure. And in future, all the deployment is controlled by a HTML embedded form. That's the workflow of the UI-based solution. And in my CDK, what do we have? Is here, as I discussed. The end user, they're able to view embedded dashboard and HTML form with the CloudFront distribution. And they have to authenticate themselves. And once the authentication pass, then they can write down like which dashboard I want to deploy from which account to the other account. And then once the information sent back to the API gateway, the API gateway will write down the information into SQS queue. And the SQS queue, there's a lambda function, will read from it, pick out the message, and then do the deployment. If the deployment successful, the lambda function will delete the message from the queue. If the migration failed, then the lambda function will don't touch the SQS queue, and after a while, the lambda function will check the queue again and try to deploy it. If try in 24 hours, still not successful, then the lambda function will also delete the queue and then mark the corresponding deployment request as a failure. And all the other part, actually, they are the supportive information. If you would like to view the dashboard, then we need the embedded information, right? But it's nothing related to the deployment itself. It's only for you to have a visualization solution to do it. And in here, I have some other information in another stack to get the QuickSight objects, user access those information, and then save into S3 bucket. So I able to use QuickSight dashboard to view those information embedded here, and for end user to see, oh, okay, I have those dashboard in this environment. So this one is the structure of the CDK. And again, you only have to deploy the infrastructure one time. And after you finish the deployment, your end user don't have to touch it again, unless you see some bug. Otherwise, you don't have to touch it again. All your deployment will go through by using the UI-based solution. Yep. And here is furthermore dive deep to the architecture. So you might have like 3 different accounts. the central accounts. You set up all your infrastructure here. And then you have the target account, and you might have a source account. So you might have 3 accounts in some of the customer scenario. At the same time, if you want to combine your central account with your source account together, that's okay. You just deploy all your infrastructure into your source account, and then you have a target account, and then you can do all of those stacks in this central account, and then you can deploy the objects from this account to the target account. And we provide another optional stack. The optional stack can help you to set up your VPC, your Aurora, or your Redshift. We didn't provide everything. We just provide some sample here. If you already have your Aurora or Redshift or Sina VPC already configured, perfect, then you don't need this stack. But if you would like to use this optional stack to set up your environment, that's okay. Just deploy it. Then we will help you to deploy everything by using this CDK stack. So that's the architecture dive deep. So yep, now I will shut up. Any question about the BI Ops solution? Feel free to throw your question to me. So, any question? No question? If not, then let's see you again next week. We will go through the solution, the hands-on workshop with you, step by step. Sounds good?